Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Well, I guess the left-wing gaslighting campaign officially now has to come to an end. Democrats have spent the last 4 years attempting to gaslight you, trying to convince you that the economy was somehow booming, despite the increased grocery prices, skyrocketing rent, reduction in growth and investments, and especially reduction in paychecks. Your paychecks were getting eaten alive by inflation, but they kept saying Bidenomics is working. And of course, all the while, they told you don't elect Donald Trump because it's going to be a complete disaster, especially on the economy. His tariffs are going to cause inflation. Foreign countries won't want to do business with us anymore. He says he wants to bring jobs back, but jobs will never come back. They've been spreading nothing but doom and gloom whenever Trump's name is associated with anything. And I mean, just look at them recently, going on and on about egg prices. The suggestion has been that Donald Trump is going to cause another recession, total economic collapse. But it was all nothing but lies, and now guess what's happening? An absolute historic level of investments are now coming pouring back into the United States. They told you Donald Trump's tariff talks would decimate the American economy and that you would have to pay the load, but instead the exact opposite is happening. And that, my friends, is why you never trust the experts. That's why you never trust the media and their pathetic partisan grift and spin. They told you disaster was coming, but it turns out that Donald Trump might have been right when he was saying that he was going to take the nation into a brand new golden age. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so take a look at the latest economic development.
$1 trillion. That's the largest ever U.S. spending plan for the world's biggest company, and it comes with thousands of new jobs across multiple states. Now, as you mentioned, we knew this was coming as President Trump teased it on Friday, and then Apple CEO Tim Cook was at the White House on Thursday. Apple is spending 50% more this year in 2025 than it did during the first Trump term. So $500 billion over 4 years this time. 4 years, not 5 years like they usually do. 20,000 new jobs, a new AI server factory in Houston, Texas, and that's significant for Apple, who tends to farm out their AI server needs to third-party providers like AWS. Also, you got a new Detroit Academy, doubling their research and development fund. Now, Apple CEO Tim Cook says we're bullish on the future of American innovation, and we're proud to build on our long-standing U.S. investments. Now, Apple tends to roll out these type of massive U.S. investment plans every few years, but this is the biggest one yet, and it's also 45% more than what they committed during the Biden term in 2021. Now, some of this can be also attributed to the higher spend in this new AI arms race that we're in, where Apple has to keep up with everybody else who's boosting their AI spending by at least 20% this year. Apple also tells me, Maria, that they are now the largest customer of the $12 billion Arizona chip factory from TSMC, which also just started shipping chips last month. Remember that Apple stock, though, still underperforming this year, and that's because of concerns on those increased China tariff threats of another 10%. Now, they got a waiver last time. This time, you heard President Trump say, as great a negotiator as Tim Cook is, Apple may not be as lucky. But Maria, as you know, if someone's written the textbook when it comes to dealing with the Trump administration from the corporate side, it's Tim Cook at Apple.
Yep, basically the exact opposite of what the Democrats told you would happen. They said Trump's tariff talks would be bad for you. They said Trump's tariff talks would never work and never bring money or jobs or companies back. But now look, the biggest company in America is now committing to dropping $500 billion in investment into the U.S. economy. Not in China, not in Vietnam, not in India, not in Mexico, in America. You know, I've heard all this talk, and this, of course, is following the Intel announcement and the Masayoshi Son billion-dollar investment as well. In other words, America is back for business. And forever, the experts have been telling us that this could never happen. Jobs will never come back. Americans just demand too much, right? That's always been the claim. It's not profitable to invest in America anymore because American wages are too high. They've created this demoralization effect in order to justify their exploitation of cheap labor abroad. But it turns out it was never true. It turns out what was really holding back a lot of these companies from investing at home was policy all along. Because now, as we're seeing the rhetoric changing, already we've got historic investment pouring in. And that's before regulation cuts, that's before tax cuts, before tariffs and any policy being actually implemented. For 4 years under Joe Biden, these companies were packing their bags, offshoring, downsizing, and bracing for impact as the economy essentially got wrecked by idiotic policies, runaway inflation, and non-stop government overreach. The left spent 4 years gaslighting us, telling us Trump's economy was a fluke, or actually, it was just inherited. It was an inherited economy. He inherited Obama's economy. Well, how's that spin gonna work now, right? Let me guess, this time it's Joe Biden's Bidenomics bringing all this investment back? Give me a break. There's an obvious common denominator here over the last 9 years, and that common denominator is Donald J. Trump. Because the second this guy gets back in office, all of a sudden, money starts pouring in. And with this latest Apple investment, well, just to show you the bullish prospects here, that $500 billion investment is 50% more than they spent under Trump's entire first term. That's actually mind-boggling. And it's not just Apple dumping money into the US economy. Again, it's chip manufacturers, data center investments, energy production. Steel is likely to come back big. America is just ready to boom, ready to rock and roll. The rocket ship is ready to set those thrusters go. And oh boy, the left must be seething right now. Once again, Trump is winning big and you know he's going to shove it in all their faces. But basically, this once again proves that the entire leftist economic model is a joke. And as if that point really needs to be elaborated on. I mean, no Sherlock. I wonder why all these companies don't want to come back home. Well, maybe they're terrified of all the regulations, the DEI quotas, Joe Biden's White House playing kingmaker, deciding which sectors they want to embrace and which they want to basically decimate. Not to mention the constant threat of increased corporate taxes and this socialist gobbledygook attempting to demonize and villainize the most successful and productive individuals and corporations among us. The left wants you to believe that big business and capitalism are inherently evil, and so no wonder the moment the tone shifts and a president comes in and says, we're going to unleash energy production, deregulate, reduce taxes, cut the DEI nonsense and the woke incentive scores, we're just going to get back to business. The moment a president signals that America's back for business, the business comes back pouring in, and companies start expanding, hiring, and investing in America again. And that, of course, is of the utmost importance, and it goes beyond just jobs and stock market growth, this view that number go up, therefore it must be good. No, it's also important for purposes of national security. And that's again something that people don't seem to understand. It's not just good economic policy. Business coming back home is crucial for national security. And I think companies like Apple are starting to realize that. Actually, this is the perfect clip to make that point. Here's Palmer Luckey, the founder of Anduril Industries, elaborating on this point on a podcast.
Imagine what would happen if Xi locked Apple out of China. $2 trillion in market cap, gone just like that. Almost everything they make is made in China, made with Chinese parts. Like, that would be the end of Apple. The most valuable company in American history exists day to day at the whims of the dictator that runs China. Could you imagine if that had happened during the Cold War? Imagine if the Kremlin could have just put out a single legal document that would have destroyed, what was the biggest company during the Cold War in America? What would it have been? Whether it's General Motors or ExxonMobil. Imagine if that could have just been shut down because a dictator in Russia is like, I don't like you anymore. I'm going to destroy you. And during the Cold War, we understood this at a political level too. Not to bring it back to Trump, but like Trump instinctively understands this in a way that the globalist elites do not. They thought that outsourcing everything was just a great thing. It's amazing. They're against tariffs. It's like, why would you make it in the less efficient economy? Why wouldn't you make it wherever it wants to be made according to the global interdynamics? And the problem is they forgot that once you can't make anything and once your companies don't make anything, you have no leverage and you've just handed it away to everyone else. Like, Trump understands that if we don't make things in America, we're actually just everyone else's bitch. What value do you put on the fact that a dictator in China could destroy our economy overnight by signing a few pieces of paper? Isn't that a situation that we should just be like humiliated by every day as a nation? Like, shouldn't we be wake up saying, holy, like, everything I'm enjoying is because Xi hasn't decided to screw us yet. And Xi's going to do it. People think that the first missile to fly is going to be a Chinese ship firing at a US ship in the Strait of Taiwan. The first missile is going to be Xi calling up of his buddies in the United States and saying, if the United States government tries to fight this, I'm going to destroy your economy. I will do it. I will do it tomorrow. That is actually what he has in his quiver.
And so there you have it. Being dependent on foreign nations, especially foreign nations that want to destroy and subvert us, well, it's just bad policy. And the idea that we're dependent on cheap labor, well, honestly, I think it's a freaking psyop. America has the capability to be self-sufficient and independent, with maybe a few close allies filling in the gaps. And this notion that the American economy can't exist without cheap goods from Asia, well, it's just fundamentally untrue. And I know it's untrue because we didn't used to depend on cheap goods from foreign nations. It's actually a new phenomenon, a new development. And if you think about it, the standard of living for the average American has actually dropped quite considerably since all of this really started to kick into high gear under Bill Clinton. We can fend for ourselves. We can produce and manufacture. We just need the right economic environment to do so. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.